This Thursday on the Attorneys TV shows The Breakdown. Don't miss it.
With tonight's show airing the last week in Black History Month, your host attorneys are breaking down 3 major racial discrimination issues trending in our nation. The 24-month sentence handed down to Minnesota ex-cop Kim Potter in her killing of Deontay Wright. Did Judge Regina Chu get it right? Or, as Deontay Wright's mother stated, is this a case of white woman tears trumps justice? Deontay Wright's mother is white herself. All viewpoints are welcome. To live chat your comments about this issue during tonight's show. The NFL hires former U.S. Attorney General Miss Loretta Lynch to defend it against the racial discrimination lawsuit filed by former Dolphins head coach Mr. Brian Flores. Should she have taken that case? Does his lawsuit even have merit? All viewpoints are welcome. And tonight's hot topic, doping in the Olympics, racist or discriminatory punishment? U.S. track star Sha'Carri Richardson accuses the Olympics of discriminatory punishment by banning her for testing positive while allowing white Russian figure skaters to continue to compete despite testing positive for banned substances.
Breaking down current events, no holds barred. No topic off limits, all viewpoints welcome. Live streaming every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Attorneys TV shows The Breakdown. With your host, Attorney and Minister Urena Rich Johnston from Ricks & Associates in West Bloomfield, Michigan. With your host, Attorney, Registered Nurse, and Minister Rossi Williams from Rossi Williams Law Group, Miami, Florida. And the popular hot topic. Save the date and don't miss the Attorneys TV shows The Breakdown. Live streaming every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Attorneys TV show channel on YouTube, Facebook, and all major podcast platforms. Get a text reminder when the show goes live by texting the one word, The Attorneys TV Show, to phone number 33222. Learn more on theattorneystvshow.com. Whatever you do, don't miss this fire. Follow and share now.
Welcome and good evening, America. Welcome to the Attorneys TV shows, The Breakdown. I am your host for tonight's show, Attorney Rossi Williams from Rossi Williams Law Group here in Miami, Florida. And I have here with me my illustrious co-host, Attorney Urena Rich Johnson from Ricks & Associates in West Bloomfield, Michigan. Attorney Urena, how are you tonight?
I am great, and I'm so excited about our show tonight. Welcome to our viewing and our listening audience.
Yes, everyone, we have a powerful show for you tonight. As you know, this is the last week of Black History Month. And so we're going to deal with race in America, 3 major issues that are going on nationwide. And we want to make sure that we invite everyone to comment during night. All viewpoints are welcome. So make sure that you remember to follow the show now. We're here every Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live streaming on the Attorneys TV show channel on YouTube, Facebook, and all major podcast platforms. You can also sign up to get a text reminder when we go live every Thursday by texting the one word, the Attorneys TV show, to phone number 33222. So this is the only show where there's no topic off limits, where all viewpoints are welcome, and where you can live chat during the show. So we welcome you to view, to follow, and please share now. Finally, you can contact us for legal representation or for bookings by going to the show's website, theattorneystvshow.com. Let's get ready, Attorney Urena, to get into our first topic tonight as we're breaking down race in America. Now, we all saw this last week in the state of Minnesota. Judge Regina Chu handed down her sentence to ex-police officer Ms. Kim Potter in relation to Ms. Potter's conviction for shooting and killing Black male Deontay Wright. And this has caused a lot of backlash. Judge Chu sentenced Ms. Potter, or ex-officer Kim Potter, to only 24 months in prison. Ms. Potter doesn't have to serve the entire 24 months. I believe it's only at least 2/3 of the time, or 16 months, and she'd be under supervised release for the remaining term of her sentence. This has really made people very, very upset. And as well, the judge was very emotional during her sentencing. So let's watch and let's talk about whether or not this judge handed down a just sentence. Let's watch, everyone, and we're going to come back and break this down.
Officer Kimberly Potter was trying to do the right thing. Of all the jobs in public service, police officers have the most difficult one. They must make snap decisions under tense, evolving, and ever-changing circumstances. They risk their lives every single day in public service. Officer Potter made a mistake that ended tragically. She never intended to hurt anyone. Her conduct cries out for a sentence significantly below the guidelines.
Wow, this really has a lot of people very angry. Now, let me just say for our viewing public here, as well as those of you who are listening on the podcast, you may have heard the judge mention something akin to departing from the minimum sentencing guidelines. So in the law, that's called a downward departure. And you may see that in criminal cases where the judge or the court feels that there are mitigating circumstances which would allow the judge to go down beneath or to sentence the defendant to less than the minimum guidelines. So in this particular situation, Attorney Urena, the minimum guidelines for the conviction of manslaughter, which was the conviction handed down to ex-officer Kim Potter, was 6 to 8.5 years. Here what we see is Judge Chu only sentenced the ex-officer to 2 years. Do you believe that there were enough mitigating circumstances to justify that downward departure? In other words, did the judge get it right here?
No, not at all. I totally disagree with the representation, the outcry. I'm not minimizing the fact that she may have felt remorse. What was very disturbing to me was even when the showing of the footage of the killing of Mr. Wright, which was a young Black man at the prime of his life, there were so much was given to the officer's reaction to Kim Potter's reaction to the fact that she had shot him. You know, she fell on the floor, she was very emotional, and they were saying that she was unconsolable, while a Black man was on the ground fighting for his life and ended up passing away from his injuries. I do think that they did not take into effect even the fact that a taser feels different when you grab it than a gun. And the fact of that she may have felt remorse after the act was done, but I do not believe that she felt remorse when she was in that act. I feel like that she acted in that heat and that she really wanted to stop him to the point of actually killing him. And I think that she felt remorse afterwards. I do not believe that there are mitigating circumstances. I think that when people have remorse about their crime, I do think that that should be taken into consideration. But in this case, I think it went far beyond just taking it into consideration. I think that the family at this point did not get full justice. There is a son that is missing from his family. And I don't think that that was taken into consideration in this verdict. I don't think that they really looked into the fact of how this family would suffer from the sentencing that was done by the judge. So I do not believe that they got this right.
And remember, viewers as well as listeners, type your comments in the chat box as well. All viewpoints are welcome here, and we want to hear from you. And we may actually answer one of your comments or questions or highlight it on air tonight. I have to say in this situation as well, I do not believe that Judge Chu got it right. When we're talking about these mitigating circumstances, the things that she was naming her for me, they just didn't really fit that bill. When she was saying, well, this is a police officer, and police officers have the most dangerous jobs of everyone in public service, and the officers have to act within a split second. I have to say, quite frankly, that is, to me, what separates police officers from the general public is that they are trained to know how to respond within that split second. So if it was me, maybe I wouldn't know, how to take a split second and analyze or assess the entire situation. But that is the difference between the officer or Officer Potter and myself. So I don't believe that the mitigating circumstances that the judge alleged to be mitigating circumstances were enough to justify such a significant downward departure, or even a downward departure at all. But to go from 6 years down to two years, and you don't even have to serve those 2 years. The other thing I definitely agree with you about is how the judge was so emotional regarding Miss Potter. All of this emotion that we were seeing was not at all in reference to the decedent, Mr. Wright. It was just about the police officer. And so I really don't believe that the judge gave justice to the family of Mr. Wright or even to the community at large. What I'd like for us to do now, though, is to hear this interesting statement made by Deontay Wright's mother. I was really astounded when I heard it. And I also want to make sure I say welcome to all of our viewers from the University of Michigan.
Yes, welcome.
And I were there this past weekend, and we were speaking to the student government leaders on discrimination in Title VI and Title IX. So welcome to all of you who've tuned in with us tonight. But let's watch the mother of Deontay Wright and how she responds to the sentencing by the judge and this specific comment that she makes. And I'd like for us to come back and break that down a little further.
I'm very disappointed in the outcome. Yes, we got a conviction. And we thank everybody for that. But again, this isn't okay. The problem with our justice system today, white women's tears trump justice.
Wow. I just found that I was astounded because to hear her say at the end of her statement, white women tears trump justice, when in actuality, she is white herself, which is something she says at a different interview. She stated, white women's tears trump justice. And I am white myself. She's Deontay Wright's mother, the decedent's mother, who was shot and killed by ex-officer Kim Potter. She said, but I guess my white tears weren't enough. So I really didn't know how to feel about that, that kind of statement. But let me ask this. How do we respond to that? What she's really trying to say is white privilege. How do we respond to that? Now, I'll start off here saying that there is no doubt white privilege in many things. There's just no way to argue it. And with us being African Americans, we not only talk about this, we live through this every day. And we see it, of course, in the criminal justice system without a doubt. With her, I didn't know how to take it because, again, she said later, I am a white woman as well, and I cried on the stand but I guess my white woman's tears were not enough. And so I can't say I could feel or experience her pain, because thank God I've never been through that. And I'm sure she was articulating what she felt was privilege of the officer, the ex-officer, Miss Potter. But in hearing it, I just felt this went way beyond that. I did. I felt it went way beyond that, because here, the concern I had was with the judge's tears, and where those tears were surfacing, and how the judge was, throughout her sentencing, really advocating for the ex-officer. I didn't see the judge as a neutral party, a neutral presider as I watched that. How do you feel about what Deontay's Wright, his mother, was saying here?
I think that she was trying to get the point across that the white officer, the Kim Potter's, her tears, her remorse was more powerful than the life of her son. And I think that that's what she was trying to convey, that they paid more attention to her tears, how she felt at the time, that she felt so bad with what happened, and that because she's an officer and she's trained to know better, and she just couldn't believe that this happened to her, that outweighed the fact that this young man lost his life. Because it just seemed, even with the judge and throughout the process with this, we finally thought that we would get some type of justice when she was found guilty of manslaughter. But then even the way the judge was just describing of an officer she was, just how great she was, and that how she was so remorseful, and that she, and once again, I just go back to that video that I saw where so many people were reacting to her response as opposed to looking at the fact that this young man had lost his life. That was just chilling to me. I just couldn't believe, even the person that was commentating was saying that Miss Potter was unconsolable. And I was thinking to myself, why does that matter? In this situation, this young man has been injured and eventually succumbed to his injuries. And I think that has outweighed anything that has happened with this trial and ultimately with the sentencing. So I tend to agree with her. I think that the tears of Miss Potter and the remorse was so compelling to the judge that it outweighed the death of Mr. Wright, which is so unfortunate.
Well, you mentioned the perceived inconsolability of ex-officer Kim Potter. Let's watch some footage of her statement to the family during the sentencing hearing, and we'll discuss that before we quickly transition into our second topic tonight.
To the family of Dante Wright, I am so sorry that I brought the death of your son, father, brother, uncle, grandson, nephew, and the rest of your family to your home. Katie, I understand a mother's love, and I am sorry I broke your heart. My heart is broken for all of you. Earlier, when you said that I didn't look at you during the trial, I don't believe I had a right to. I didn't even have a right to be in the same room with you. I am so sorry that I hurt you so badly. My heart is broken and devastated for all of you.
Whoa. So during her statement, she made the statement to the mother or to the family that The reason I wasn't looking at you during the trial is because I felt like I didn't deserve to even be in the same room with you. And she talked about the pain of a mother losing her child. I will have to say that out of every statement that I've ever seen a defendant do to any of these types of situations, she is the most believable for me. She's the most credible. Now, of course, as a defense attorney in relation to criminal defense, but then an attorney who sues in relation to civil rights and discrimination, so I sit on both sides of that desk. I understand that, when people are looking at prison, they can become very, very convincing. But I will say she at least showed what would be perceived as remorse. So viewers, make sure you're giving us your comments, okay? You live chat, type your comments. All viewpoints are welcome. Since we're in the last week of Black History Month, we're dealing with 3 separate topics tonight on race in America. Attorney Urena, do you feel like that those statements and that emotion by ex-officer Kim Potter swayed the judge's decision to mete out such a low sentence, to go so far downward in a downward departure in any way?
Yes, I think that it had great weight on the fact that she had remorse. And I do believe that she had remorse. I'm definitely not discounting the fact of her remorse. I think that she definitely felt the weight of what was done and that she could not take it back. So I do believe her statement was believable. And so that's the reason why I feel that the judge should have looked at it from the standpoint of maybe even going toward the minimum of the sentencing guidelines. But I don't think that it was so compelling that it should have led to how the judge handed down the sentence.
I am in total agreement with you there. Just so that you will know, everyone, the family requested the maximum sentence possible, and so did the attorney general there who prosecuted that case. I just don't believe the judge could justify what, and as well, I did see the emotion. I believe the emotion was genuine, but I just still couldn't reconcile that with the years of experience that Ms. Potter had, the fact that she was also a training officer, training others, the fact that your tasers and your weapons are strategically placed for a reason. And as you mentioned earlier, Attorney Urena, the field, the difference, all of these things, I just still couldn't wrap my mind around that to say, she should have only received 2 years. Everyone, we are welcoming you tonight to the Attorneys TV show to break down. You know that we break down current events, no holds barred. We are going to take a short station break. And when we come back, I want to move to our second topic. We're going to deal with former U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch, now representing the NFL, in the racial discrimination lawsuit filed by Brian Flores. So how's that for you? Let's take this break and we'll be right back to break it down on the Attorneys TV show.
This Thursday on the Attorneys TV shows The Breakdown. Don't miss it.
With tonight's show airing the last week in Black History Month, your host attorneys are breaking down 3 major racial discrimination issues trending in our nation. The 24-month sentence handed down to Minnesota ex-cop Kim Potter in her killing of Deontay Wright. Did Judge Regina Chu get it right? Or, as Deontay Wright's mother stated, is this a case of white woman tears trumps justice? Deontay Wright's mother is white herself. All viewpoints are welcome. To live chat your comments about this issue during tonight's show. The NFL hires former U.S. Attorney General Ms. Loretta Lynch to defend it against the racial discrimination lawsuit filed by former Dolphins head coach Mr. Brian Flores. Should she have taken that case? Does his lawsuit even have merit? All viewpoints are welcome. And tonight's hot topic, doping in the Olympics. racist or discriminatory punishment? U.S. track star Sha'Carri Richardson accuses the Olympics of discriminatory punishment by banning her for testing positive while allowing white Russian figure skaters to continue to compete despite testing positive for banned substances.
Breaking down current events, no holds barred. No topic off limits, all viewpoints welcome. Live streaming every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Attorneys TV shows The Breakdown. With your host, attorney and minister Urena Rich Johnston from Ricks & Associates in West Bloomfield, Michigan. With your host, attorney, registered nurse, and minister Rossi Williams from Rossi Williams Law Group, Miami, Florida. And the popular hot topic. Save the date and don't miss The Attorneys TV shows The Breakdown. Live streaming every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on The Attorneys TV show channel on YouTube, Facebook, and all major podcast platforms. Get a text reminder when the show goes live by texting the one word, The Attorneys TV show, to phone number 33222. Learn more on theattorneystvshow.com. Whatever you do, don't miss this fire. Follow and share now.
Yes, follow and share. Now, we're back. I'm your host, attorney Rossi Williams. I have here with me my co-host, attorney Urena Rich Johnson. And tonight on The Breakdown, the Attorneys TV show's The Breakdown, we are dealing with race in America. How apropos, since this is the last week of Black History Month. So we've talked about the sentencing handed down to ex-officer Kim Potter in her killing of Deontay Wright. And now I'd like to move to the NFL. As I'm sure everyone knows, Brian Flores, who is the former head coach of the Miami Dolphins, filed a racial discrimination lawsuit against the NFL, the Miami Dolphins, and other teams after he was fired from being the head coach here, because I'm in Miami. And he alleged not only racism in relation to himself, but systemic racism in the NFL. And he filed his lawsuit after receiving a mistaken receiver, no pun intended, text from New England Patriots coach, Mr. Bill Belichick. So let's hear Brian Flores, and then we want to talk about this, because what has happened is that the NFL has hired former U.S. Attorney General, Ms. Loretta Lynch, to represent them. Let's hear from Mr. Flores.
What cemented your decision to say you were back and forth? Mm-hmm. What got you over that hump? Well, it was a text message from Bill Belichick that confirmed a lot of the things that I believed were going on for blacks, minorities in the hiring process. That interviews that blacks and minorities were going on were, we weren't given a true opportunity in those interviews to showcase our abilities, and me personally showcase my abilities. So to walk into an interview where a decision's already been made, that was the tipping point.
Attorney Urena, so many people are divided on this matter. So let's just get straight to it here. Does his lawsuit have any legal merit?
I think that he can first establish and the good thing about it, we just talked about this with the University of Michigan college students this weekend. Well, actually, it wasn't just the University of Michigan. It was all the colleges from across Michigan, but it was hosted at the University of Michigan, Flint. And we talked about establishing a prima facie case. We talked about how to argue civil rights cases and things of that nature. But I do think that he can at least establish a prima facie case of discrimination. There is, he can allege, which is what he's been alleging, that African-American coaches have not been given the same opportunity or opportunities to coach or to be, they may be assistant coaches or coaches for a specific area, but not head coaches. and that has been consistent throughout the NFL. If he can establish that and that it's based on race, he may be able to establish that case initially. But like we talked about at our session, it's easy to file, but to actually prove the case and to be successful, there has to be other elements and other parts of it. And, of course, the NFL is going to respond and say that there was a non-discriminatory reason, such as the coach's ability, their track record in the NFL and things of that nature. So I think that the case can be established, but whether it can be successful is going to be something that's going to be a hard road for them to have to go through that process to prove the case and to be successful.
Right, because as we were teaching the students in Michigan, racial discrimination is one of the easiest things to allege, even when it is true, but one of the hardest things to prove. So here we have this coach who's alleging racial discrimination in the hiring practices of the NFL. And as Attorney Arena said, it's very easy to make that prima facie case. And what do we mean by that, audience? Just enough to show that what you're alleging can meet the elements of whatever your cause of action may be. So we have here over 30 teams in the NFL, and now we only have, I believe, one African-American head coach. And so we have this Rooney Rule, which is what he's saying was violated as well, where the teams have to interview minority candidates before they make their decision to hire. And he's saying, well, look, Bill Belichick sent me this text, and before you guys had even interviewed me in New York, you'd already made the decision. So my interview was really a sham. But as he gets down to having to prove this, it's going to be a lot harder than what he's saying. For instance, Bill Belichick may testify and say, I didn't speak with anyone in authority at the New York team. I didn't speak with the GM, the front office, the coach, anyone. This was just stuff I heard floating around that they were going to select or hire the other Brian. And so that's something that I'm sure Brian Flores' legal team has to be ready for. The other thing here is he filed this to be a class action lawsuit. And the problem is he doesn't have anyone in class yet. And so if you're saying it's just really wrong, some of the current African-American coaches or those few African-Americans who are in the front office joined in. And finally, I'll say what we hear a lot of times is people say, well, the NFL itself, in regard to the players, it's 50% black or 70%, whatever numbers they throw out there to show it's majority black. Well, that in and of itself does not prove that there's not some kind of disparate treatment or impact racially in the NFL. I mean, if we go back to, slavery days and segregation days, well, there were more black people out there picking the cotton, but that didn't mean they were allowed to be in the house running any games. So just the fact that you have the majority players who are black on the field does not prove that there's no discrimination, because what we're seeing is you don't see those same numbers or anything even comparable or proportionate to the number of teams or the leadership when you compare the number of blacks to whites who are in leadership. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Let's deal with one more thing, and then we got to move on to our last topic for time's sake. Loretta Lynch. She's African-American. She's the first female African-American U.S. Attorney General. And now she's representing the NFL in a racial discrimination suit against it where a black person has filed it. Many people in the African-American community are upset about this. Should she have taken this case? What do you think, Attorney Rita?
I think it's going to be hard for her to be neutral in the case. But, as an attorney, and this, Attorney Rossi, we are here for justice, and we are here to expound on the law. And if she feels that there may not be any merit to the case, or with her looking at the case and she feels that, there has not been that systemic part of racism within the front office of the NFL, then, I don't see any reason why she shouldn't take the case. But if there is any inclination or if there's anything that can be shown that she's found in her research, I think that she should probably withdraw because of her strong conviction that she has or has had concerning representing the causes and making sure that racism is not happening where it's concerning with her and with her causes that she has taken on in the past.
Yes, we are zealous advocates of our clients as attorneys, and we are supposed to be able, better than most, to rightfully divide a situation, right, to pull out that truth. I will say for me, it would not have been a case that I felt I could take. I do civil rights cases, but as you said, if I look at the case and I don't see the merit, I don't take it. I do believe Loretta Lynch has been involved in representing the NFL in something else, or someone who actually had some kind of complaint against the NFL years ago. I don't see how she could have taken the case, because I don't see how she could have looked at that case and reasonably believe that there was no systemic discrimination. Now, in regard to Mr. Flores, that's a different matter. I don't think that his case is very, very strong once you drill down into it. I think he's going to have a very hard hill to climb. But in regard to the systemic racism, or let me not just say racism, but discriminatory treatment in the NFL in relation to African Americans, I believe that the evidence shows that's there. And I believe that the empirical data and quantifiable numbers will evidence that. So I don't see how she's going to be able to differentiate it, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. I think she picked the wrong proverbial hill to die on here. I do think I hear a little sound, Attorney Arena.
I think so too.
It's time for our hot topic, which is our very last topic of tonight. We only have time to do one question on it, but.
And now it's time for tonight's hot topic.
Well, welcome back. We only have time, Attorney Arena, to deal with one question on this. And again, welcome everyone to the Attorney's TV shows, The Breakdown. You know we're here every Thursday breaking down current events, no holds barred, no topic off limits. All viewpoints are welcome. So make sure you follow or subscribe to the Attorney's TV shows, The Breakdown, on the Attorney's TV show channel on YouTube, the Attorney's TV show channel on Facebook, or the Attorney's TV show channel on all major podcast platforms. You really don't want to miss any of our shows. So let's talk about the doping issues in the Olympics. So we have Sha'Carri Richardson. She's hot. She's mad because she is a U.S. track superstar. And due to her marijuana use after the death of her mother, our condolences, of course, she was unable to run track in the Olympics for that usage. But now here we have the Winter Olympics, and there's a Russian figure skater who was found to have used the banned substance. And now there have been quite a few others, yet they were allowed to compete. So let's watch this. And very quickly, we just want to talk about Sha'Carri's allegation that there is discrimination in the punishment.
So the latest in the Russian doping scandal in the figure skating competition came to a surprising end. CBS's Jamie Yukas has the latest from Beijing.
It was a remarkable finale to the marquee event of the Winter Games. Kamila Valieva, who was the gold medal favorite, slipped and stumbled her way through her free skate, then crumbled into tears. Emotion swept up many of her fellow skaters too. As the results sank in, her two Russian teammates earned gold and silver. The bronze went to Japan. Valieva finished fourth.
It was very heartbreaking to watch this unfold the way that it did. You couldn't help but feel empathy for her and for the situation that she's been put in as a 15-year-old, as a child.
Valieva tested positive for a banned substance last December, but was cleared to compete while her case is reviewed.
Unfortunately, the longevity of figure skaters, and particularly Russian figure skaters, is 2 to 3 years. I don't think she's back to the next Olympics.
So, Attorney Arena, this bothered me on so many levels. First of all, that you have a kid so young who's actually taking banned substances. So I think You know, they really should have been going after her coaches about placing her in that position in the first place. But let's deal with what Sha'Carri is saying. Sha'Carri is saying, look, I used a substance that I should not have, and I was banned. I accepted the accountability for that, and I wasn't able to run track. But here we go to these Olympics, and multiple figure skaters or athletes are now being found to have used substances which are banned, but they're allowed to compete even during the time of their appeal. Sha'Carri says, hey, this is racially discriminatory. Is she right or wrong?
She's right. I think that they're said, it's specifically in there, they said that they got to compete pending the investigation. Sha'Carri did not get that opportunity. If that's the process, that she should have been allowed to compete as well. And I definitely think that she has some merit to what she's saying, that the difference between her, these skaters, and their representation is the fact that of the race. She's African American, and they are white Russians.
I'm in total agreement, because when we're talking about discrimination, you're looking at the definition. What are you really saying? It's where people who are similarly situated, you're in the same conditions, same situations or circumstances, are treated differently, and it's based on their race. So they're both athletes. They're both under the authority of the same Olympics committees, even though, you know, Sha'Carri has additional rules here with the U.S. Anti-Doping Association, and that figure skater may have had different rules, but it's still the Olympics. So they're both athletes. They're both under the same rules and regulations. They both use something they're not supposed to use, and so one gets to compete and the other doesn't. And although someone may say, well, that one was younger than the other, it doesn't make any difference, because we are seeing more and more figure skaters throughout this particular Olympics who come out to have used some type of banned substance. So I am in total agreement with Sha'Carri on this one. I didn't agree with her on a lot of things, but I do agree with her on this one. She's definitely made a great prima facie case, and I'd really like to see the Olympics give a better response than what they've given, because it can't just be that you give a non-discriminatory reason. You have to give a legitimate. Non-discriminatory reason to be able to come in and pass muster when you're being accused of racial discrimination. So look, everyone, this has been awesome. We're here every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live streaming on the Attorneys TV show channels on YouTube, on Facebook, and all major podcast platforms. So make sure you follow. That way, if for any reason you cannot tune in live with us at 7:30 p.m., you can always just go back to YouTube or go to any major podcast platform, type in the Attorneys TV show, The Breakdown, or type in our names, and you should be able to find these shows, because we want to hear from you. Now, next week, you don't want to miss it. We're going to have students from the University of Michigan. They are going to be answering questions in a town hall, and I can tell you already that they're very authentic, very well informed, and very well educated. So you don't want to miss what they have to say. Now, Attorney Rena, can you tell our viewers and listeners how they can contact you?
They can contact me at www.ricks-law.com.
All right, everyone, that's www.ricks-law.com. She, again, is from Ricks & Associates in West Bloomfield, Michigan. I'm Attorney Rossi Williams from Rossi Williams Law Group in Miami, Florida. And you can visit me on my website, callrossiwilliams.com. Rossi is spelled R-A-WSI, and you can also use our names to follow us on social media. If you want to book us for your events, or you're seeking legal representation from us, go to our websites or just go to the show's website, theattorneystvshow.com. All right, we're going to see you next Thursday. Good night.
Breaking down current events, no holds barred. No topic off limits, all viewpoints welcome. Live streaming every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Attorneys TV shows The Breakdown. With your host,